have dedicated their lives to one of the most important work humanity has ever known, and that is teaching. So again, I am Michelin Villarivo, and I'm joining from the Philippines. So this is a country with over 7,000 islands where, as you can imagine, the word access and education has never been simple. Today, I want to take you on a journey, not a tour of gadgets or platforms, but a genuine conversation about how we can rethink, okay, what school is, where learning happens, and who gets to be part of it. So our topic today is reimagining physical and digital learning ecosystem. Education is no longer confined. We all know that. It is connected, inclusive, and infinitive. So by the end of our time together, I hope you will leave with one clear, powerful idea that changes how you see your own classroom, your own institution, and your own role as educator. So let us begin. Okay. So the first question is, what if a campus is no longer a place, but a possibility? I want you to close your eyes for a moment or simply imagine this. There is a young woman living in the rural village of Benguet or any last mile school where in the mountains, Benguet is actually one of the places in the Philippines. But aside from Benguet, we also have the last mile schools. So this young woman, she has dreamed to finish her degree and become an engineer. But the nearest university is hours away. The roads are rough, and her family cannot afford board and lodging. So can you imagine the young lady living in a last mile school or a last mile place in the country? So under the old system, her story ends there. But here is what is actually happening today. That same young woman logs into a virtual seminar. So how many of you here have tried logging into a virtual seminar before this activity? I know you are quite familiar already with this one, right? This seminar could be led by a professor in the United States, in Finland, or in UK. Her classmates are from Kenya, Brazil, South Korea, and they collaborate on a shared digital canvas. They solve real engineering problems together. They solve real classroom problems together. So where is her campus? Her campus is the world. That is not a fantasy already. That is happening right now. And it raises a profound question for all of us in this room. What if a campus is no longer a place, but a possibility? That question is the heart of everything that we will discuss today. Now, to understand where we are going, we must be honest about where we have been. COVID-19 did not create the future of education. It actually accelerated it. Think about this 1.6 billion learners. That is 1.6 children and young people who were affected by school closures when the pandemic hit. This is almost the entire population of China unable to go to school. What happened next was remarkable. Institutions, okay, we might admit it or not, have said that we cannot do online learning, but they did it. Overnight, actually. Do you agree with me, Sir Mark? Overnight, right? They did it. And when things reopened, 63% of higher education institutions permanently adopted hybrid learning. They did not go back to the old way completely. They kept the best of what they discovered. All this connects to the global commitment we know as SDG 4, the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal for inclusive, equitable, and quality education for all by 2030. Therefore, the borderless campus is no longer a vision, it is the new reality. In my next slide, What is actually a borderless campus? It is actually a convergence of space, technology, and human connection. When people hear this term, many think it simply means online school. But what is much more than that? Think of it as three things working together. First, physical spaces, digital platforms, and global collaboration. Let's have the first one, physical spaces. Yes, we still have classrooms, laboratories, and campuses. But these spaces are becoming smarter, more flexible, and more collaborative. Imagine a classroom where the walls move, where the furniture reconfigures itself for group work, or where a student in Manila and a student in Melbourne are literally in the same learning environment. That is the physical space that we are having right now. Another is digital platforms, learning management systems, virtual classrooms, AI tools, cloud ecosystems. These are invisible highways that connects learners and teachers across time zones and geographies. Actually, these digital platforms are already available early 2000. And with the help of the Regional English Language Office, I was able to join a virtual classroom with classmates coming from the different parts of the world. So just imagine how long this system is already been circulating around in our educational system. Third, global collaboration. The buzzword is internationalization, right? You are having this activity because you want to be a part of that international arena wherein education is being exchanged by different universities where collaboration is strengthened. So cross-border learning, virtual exchange programs, and open access resources that make it possible for a student in Mindanao to access the same quality of content as a student in Massachusetts. So, and what makes this work? Four key characteristics, as you see on the screen. We have accessibility beyond geography, flexibility in time and space, learner-centered design, and interconnected systems. These are not, again, buzzwords. They are principles we can truly apply starting today. Also, there are four forces reshaping higher education globally. So what is driving the shift? Now, some of you may be wondering, why is this happening? Is this just a trend that will pass? The answer is no. And why is that? Because of the following forces: digital transformation, globalization of education, AI and emerging technologies, and lifelong learning demand. The first force, digital transformation. We already now have cloud computing, artificial intelligence, and learning management systems, which completely redefined how, where, and when learning happens. The school is no longer bound by four walls. Second, globalization of education. Students and faculty are crossing borders not just physically but virtually. Credentials are becoming borderless. A degree earned through a hybrid program in the Philippines is now recognized by employers in Singapore, Canada, and beyond. So, how many of you here are collecting badges just like me? So I have badges coming from Ivy League schools in the United States, and all of this because of the programs of the U.S. Department of State and Regional English Language Manila. So as simple and as easy as that, right? So we get to expose with different pedagogies as well as different culture through virtual. And then third, AI and emerging technologies. How many of you here have their accounts with Gamma, right? Now, it's very simple to create a PowerPoint slide or a slide deck using Gamma, for example. That's a free material. Also, we have ChatGPT, as mentioned by our speakers to this morning and yesterday. So these are readily available. So when you say AI and emerging technologies, adaptive learning systems, intelligent tutors, augmented and virtual reality. So these tools do not just deliver content, they create personalized learning journeys. So imagine a student who struggle with algebra, for example, receiving a customized explanation tailored to exactly how their brain processes information. You know what? I love chatting. I love talking with ChatGPT. If I have no time to read books, but of course, things should be verified, right? And my new favorite is Perplexity. So, what I do is, if I don't have time to read, I just chat with them. For example, I have this urgent idea that I need an explanation. So I just open the microphone and chat GPT, ask the question, and then he will respond. So it's just like having, okay, an online tutor. And then number four, lifelong learning demand. So the world of work is changing so fast that a degree is no longer a destination. If you have seen the list of jobs, okay, future jobs that we will be needing by 2030, actually some of these jobs are not known before, but they are here right now. Okay. So micro credentials, short courses, and upskilling programs are becoming just as important as traditional diplomas. So these four forces are not separate trends. They are converging all at once right now, and together they are creating the borderless campus. Another factor that we need to look into consideration is the fourth industrial revolution. Actually, in my first slide, this is not included. But then I was reminded of our lesson when I had Sir Doc J as my professor in PNU, wherein one of the things that we have discussed is this fourth industrial revolution. So when you say fourth industrial revolution, or what we call 4IR, in simple terms, the first industrial revolution gave us the engine. The second gave us electricity. The third gave us computer. How about the fourth? The one that we are living right now is the fusion of physical, digital, and biological world, and it is moving fast. According to World Economic Forum, 85 million jobs will be disrupted by automation by 2025. But here is the other side. 97 million new roles will be created in the fourth industrial revolution economy, jobs that do not even have names yet. And 59% of workers will require significant reskilling by 2030. And here now is the challenge for us educators. Most of our schools today are still training students for jobs that already exist, or worse, jobs that are disappearing. We are preparing young people for a world that is changing faster than our curricula can adopt. The borderless campus is the vehicle through which we can deliver Education 4.0 at scale, reaching every learner, not just the fortunate few. And how do we do that? We have, okay, the four skill sets plus four learning experiences. So what does Education 4.0 actually look like? The World Economic Forum gives us a clear framework. On the left side, there are four skill sets every graduate needs: global citizenship, cross-cultural empathy, sustainability, and civic responsibility. Second, innovation and creativity. That is the ability to solve complex problems and generate new ideas. Third, technology skills, digital literacy, coding, data analysis, and knowing how to use AI ethically. And lastly, interpersonal skills, This includes leadership, emotional intelligence, and collaboration. On the other side, on the right side of the screen, there are four types of learning experiences that must change. Learning must become personalized and self-paced, accessible and inclusive, reaching every learner regardless of geography, ability, or socioeconomic status. Problem-based and collaborative, mirroring the real world of work, and lifelong and student-driven. For those of us in the Philippines, this is not abstract. CHED has already taken steps through CMO number 17, 2017, and the CHED X 2.0 initiative, aligning our higher education institutions with exactly this industry-ready readiness standards. So how do we go from traditional to borderless? Let me show you how we got here. So, because of the borderless campus did not appear overnight. Before the year 2000, education was the traditional campus model. This was presented yesterday. So, classrooms were fixed, learning was location bound, the teacher stood at the front and delivered knowledge. I remember when I was still teaching, I need to stand the whole time, right? Because I need to engage my students. I find it effective if I am in front of my students. I am standing and delivering the lesson. So that enhances my mobility and enhances the engagement among my students. So students had limited access to resources beyond their textbooks. So that was the best we could do with what we had. Then from 2000 to 2020, we entered the blended learning era. So schools began integrating learning management systems, hybrid classrooms appeared, edtech began its rise, teachers started using digital tools alongside traditional methods. And now, from 2020 to the present, we are entering the era of borderless ecosystem. Seamless physical and digital integration, or what we call the phygital, personalized and adaptive learning, global classrooms, and AI-enhanced instruction. So the borderless campus is not a replacement. This time, it is an expansion. The goal has always been the same: quality learning for every student. What changes is the scale of possibility. So the physical campus becomes the launch pad. So here is a number that should excite every school administrator in this room. Research shows that optimized flexible classroom design leads to a 16% improvement in academic performance. 16%. So simply from changing the physical environment. Why? Because the space we learn in affects how we think, how we collaborate, and how we feel about learning. So how do we do that? Smart classrooms are IoT enabled, or IoT means Internet of Things, environments that can adapt to different teaching modes in real time. Whether you are delivering a lecture, running a hybrid session, or going fully remote, the room responds. Second, flexible collaborative spaces use furniture that moves, walls you can ride on, and rooms that can be reconfigured in minutes. Instead of rows of desks facing a whiteboard, imagine cluster of students around problems they are actually trying to solve. So I had this one classroom before when I had experience to teach in Vietnam, that every time that we need to change the classroom setup, it's easy for them to move the furniture because the furniture are not fixed. I know maybe in some of your institutions or in your institutions, you already have this. That when you combine the tables, it's already an area wherein the students could brainstorm. Okay? So another is innovation hubs and maker spaces. It bridge the gap between academic theory and real world problem solving. Prototyping labs, fabrication tools, design studios. So they signal to students, this is a place where you can create, not just consume. So I have seen the excitement in the eyes of the students when they started to create a musical instrument out of a foil and a wire. So that is in the Fab Lab. So just imagine that triggers their curiosity, that triggers their interest. So if our students are in this kind of environment, then it would be easy for us to motivate them. Okay? So the physical campus is not becoming obsolete, it is becoming a launch pad. In the next slide, if the physical campus is the launch pad, then digital infrastructure is the rocket fuel. Can you imagine that? So there are three critical components of a well-built digital learning infrastructure. The first one is, of course, our LMS. So platforms like Moodle, Canvas, Google Classroom, and Blackboard serves as a central hub for content, assessments, collaboration, and analytics. So think of it as the digital backbone of your institution. I remember during the pandemic, I give sessions and also attended sessions on creating LMS using the Moodle. And I two of my laptops crashed because it cannot take the what do you call this? It cannot take the weight, if I may call it weight. Forgive me for my ignorance. The because the application and my laptop are not suitable. They are not, or what do you call that? The capacity of my laptop cannot carry, okay, that of the Moodle. So it crashed two of my laptops. So, and I have seen also the importance of this LMS during the pandemic. And for Canvas, for example, we are already using this even before the pandemic, with the massive open online courses that we have. That's why before the pandemic, we are already acquainted with the use of this LMS. So for those of you who have tried the massive open online courses of the Regional English Language Office of Manila and US Department of State, then that's already an advantage on your part. And I know I think UMak hosts some of these virtual camps, right? Or yes, massive open online camps. And Sergey is one of our facilitators. The second is cloud-based platforms. We have Microsoft 365, Google Workspaces. Now it's easy to transfer one file from another. We have Zoom, Teams, and WebEx. So usually WebEx, this is used by my students in China. So we usually have our lessons using WebEx instead of Zoom. So this make real collaboration possible from anywhere. So a student in Ilocos can collaborate with classmate in Davao as easily as they were sitting next to each other. So aside from this, we also have sometimes students also use Telegram, Viber, because you could also already exchange or share data or files using these applications. The third is AI-driven tools, adaptive learning engines that adjust content based on how a student is performing. Intelligent tutoring systems that provide feedback at 2 in the morning when no teacher is available. So just imagine, you don't need to go through the submissions of your students, but then, okay, AI is doing it for you. So learning analytics dashboards that tell faculty which students are struggling before they fail. Together, this form the invisible architecture of borderless learning. You do not always see it, but when it works well, you feel it, and it engages students, better outcomes, and teachers free to do what only humans can do. And that is to inspire. Technology alone is not enough. Okay, as I mentioned, we have the role, and that is to inspire. Okay, and by this time, I want you to pause and say something very clearly, because I have seen too many institutions fall into this trap. That is, technology alone is not enough. You can have the fastest internet, the most sophisticated LMS, and the best AI tools in the world. If you do not invest equally in people, and policy, none of it will work. Do you agree with me? Thumbs up naman kayo dyan if you agree with me. Teachers must move from being knowledge dispensers to being learning architects and co-creators. This is a profound shift. It does not mean teachers become less important. It means they become more important because now teachers become the designers of learning experiences. They serve as mentors and as guides. Students must become digitally empowered learners, developing agency, self-regulation, which is very important, and digital fluency as core competencies. We are not just teaching how to use a laptop, we are teaching them how to learn. And our institution must cultivate cross-cultural collaboration, just like what we are having right now, because the borderless campus means our graduates will work alongside with whose cultures, languages, and perspectives are very different from their own. Just imagine the one that you are having right now, being exposed to different speakers, that is already a part of cultural immersion. So on the policy side, okay, data privacy and cybersecurity, flexible curriculum policies, and internationalization frameworks must all be in place. People and policy, without them, technology is just an expensive furniture. So what becomes possible? Let us turn to what becomes possible when we get this right. 258 million children are still out of school worldwide. So that is not statistic. That is 258 million stories of potential unfulfilled. Borderless campuses with flexible, inclusive education models aligned with SDG 4 can reach undeserved, rural, and marginalized learners in ways traditional schooling never could. Virtual exchange programs now connect classrooms across 50 or more countries. So a student in Pangasinan, for example, can collaborate with peers in Nigeria or Norway. I myself, for example, I had the opportunity to collaborate, okay, with fellow educators coming from different parts of the world. So building not just academic skills, but genuine global citizenship. So what I got from these virtual exchanges, I learned the most important thing, which is respect. Okay? Respect of their culture, of their language, and of the ideas that they bring to the table. On the other hand, 59% of research studies shows improved academic performance when AI-driven personalized learning is used. Adoptive systems are not just innovative, they actually work. So I hope that by this time, your institution already have their AI policy. So we already have AI policy, which is given by Simeo Innotech. DepEd already has their AI policy. And as a higher education institution, I am hoping, and yes, I hope you already have your own AI policy. And lastly, lifelong learning ecosystems, we have micro-credentials. These are short, stackable, verifiable certificates. They are quietly revolutionizing how we think about lifelong learning. So blockchain authenticated and employer recognized, they allows workers to upskill continuously without having to go back to school for 4 years. So the borderless campus does not just improve education, it can make it truly universal. Now, the talk of the town, AI. So let us look at the data on artificial intelligence in education because the numbers are striking. Research published in 2025 found that AI personalized learning has a path coefficient of 0.42 on student motivation. In plain language, when students learn through AI personalized systems, their motivation increases significantly. And we know that motivated students learn better. The same research found a path coefficient of 0.31 on academic performance. AI personalized learning measurably improves grades. At 62% of studies cite personalization and customization as the top strength of adaptive learning system. This way, we develop the students' automaticity, okay? So they get to learn and become responsible for their learning. According to RSIS International Journal 2025, and I quote, AI-driven personalization significantly enhances intrinsic motivation, learning satisfaction, and academic performance, particularly when supported by strong digital literacy. The last part is critical. Again, strong digital literacy. AI alone will not save us, but AI in the hands of digitally literate teachers and students, that is transformative. Imagine a student struggling with a concept in biology. In the traditional classroom, they wait until the next class, right? If they have a question, they need to wait for the next class. So in an AI-enhanced environment, the system detects the struggle in real time, adjusts the content, and offers a different explanation and alerts the teacher. Okay, so it tries to introduce the tiered teaching. We have that in reading, right? In order for the text to be accommodated by different students having different levels, you usually make or use the tiered leveling of this story, for example, or this literature. Same with this one. Okay, so it is adapted, okay, in order to address the actual need of the students. So the student does not fall through cracks. So that is what AI makes possible. And how about the challenges and critical issues? So before we dwell on what is on the slide, I want to bring this conversation closer to the urgent present, to what is happening right now in 2026 as we speak. In Gaza, 660,000 children have not been in proper school for 3 consecutive years. So that is 92% of schools require complete reconstruction. Physical campuses have been reduced to rubble. And yet, educators there are teaching. They are using Telegram channels, borrowed devices, 10 schools, Zoom links that cut in and out. They are practicing the borderless campus, not as an innovation, but as a survival. So teachers are striving to instruct, students are attempting to engage, but the resources are nearly non-existent. So this is not edtech experimentation. This is the last line of defense for an entire generation's right to education. And this reality is not limited to one region. It is unfolding across Asia and in our own backyard here in the Philippines. So let me just ground the context, okay? Just this past November 2025, Super Typhoon Uwan, okay, internationally known as Fungwong, battered Philippines with 155 kmh, right, winds, and 17 million students had their classes suspended. Over 3,200 classrooms were damaged, though these are in reports. 522 schools were converted into evacuation centers. 4 weeks, students in Central Visayas Palawan, and northern Mindanao could not return to their classrooms. Some still haven't. And this was not an isolated incident. Typhoon Tini struck just days before, damaging around another 76 schools. So that's 200,000 schools across 10 regions, suspended operations simultaneously. The Philippines is ranked the most disaster-prone country in the world in 2025. So we could say that education disruption is not an exception here. It becomes the norm. In Mindanao, conflict has been displacing students for years. 3,000 families were evacuated during clashes in 2024, with classrooms occupied by displaced communities and children traumatized by violence near their homes. Schools shifted to alternative learning modes, not by choice, but by necessity. Teachers distributed modular materials, learning continued in tents, temporary shelters. Again, the borderless campus became the only campus. This is the reality for the 52 million children across Middle East and millions more in Southeast Asia whose education has been disrupted by conflict, climate disasters, and displacements. The question is not whether we should build borderless learning system. The question is why we have not built them fast enough. At the same time, okay, more context. At the same time, branch campuses in the UAE, Qatar, and Bahrain, and some of the most technologically advanced campuses in the world, pivoted to full online delivery overnight when regional conflict escalated in March 2026. They could do so because they had the infrastructure in place. That is the difference the borderless campus makes. The difference between having a lifeline and having nothing. The systems we build in times of instability become the emergency infrastructure in times of crisis. The borderless campus is not a luxury for the stable world. It is the lifeline for the world on fire. Therefore, in this instance, the borderless campus is not optional. It is survival. Now, I would be doing this service if I only painted a while back the rosy picture, right? So looking at the different events that we are having right now, the borderless campus demands an honest reckoning with real barriers. And what are these? We have digital divide, quality assurance, faculty, student engagement, data and ethics privacy. So for the first one, digital divide. In the United States, 15 to 16 million K-12 learners lack sufficient home broadband. In the Philippines and across the developing world, the gap is far wider. A 2026 congressional report revealed that the Philippines' education system is in crisis, with students failing far behind their regional peers. Geographic location and income create profound digital inequality. Students in rural and geographically isolated and disadvantaged areas lack access to devices and reliable internet. Even when the Department of Education introduces the initiatives, the Starlink satellite internet, and smart classroom technology, connectivity remains a privilege, not a right. A borderless campus that only serves students with fast internet is not truly borderless. Second is quality assurance. So how do we maintain academic rigor and assessment integrity in virtual first environments? How do we ensure that online learning is not a diluted version of education, but an equivalent or even superior experience? These questions do not yet have perfect answers, but they must be part of our conversation. Next is faculty readiness. In survey after survey, faculty rate the importance of digital competencies higher than their own ability to perform. Do you agree? For example, they are given a survey and they don't want to be targeted for professional development. So what they do, they just tick, okay, a more positive response, but which in reality is not actually their actual competency. So our teachers know what they need to do, but they have not been given the training and support to do it. So in the Philippines, teachers are striving to adapt, but they face chronic neglect, persistent shortages in classroom, educators, and learning materials. Our partner, okay, the Department of Education, is implementing reforms and learning recovery programs this year, and capacity building must be prioritized. And that is our responsibility. Fourth, we have student engagement. So research shows that motivation and well-being declined in purely online environments. So human beings need social connection. We know that we are social animals, right? We need presence, interaction, and belonging. A borderless campus never become a lonely campus. And lastly, which was tackled in the presentation before this one, data ethics and privacy. When AI systems collect data on how students learn, that data is powerful. And powerful data requires powerful governance. We must ask who owns this data? How is it being used? Are we protecting our students or are we treating them as data points? So these challenges are real, but they are solvable if we are honest about them and intentional with our purpose. Because right now, in Gaza, in the Philippines, in Mindanao, in displacement camps across Asia, educators are not waiting for perfection. They are teaching with what they have. They are building the borderless campus in real time. Under fire, under floodwaters, under impossible conditions. Our tasks is to meet them there, to build the infrastructure they need, to ensure that the next typhoon, the next conflict, the next crisis does not rob another generation of their education. The borderless campus is not a luxury. It is survival, and survival cannot wait. Now, let me just focus a while for digital divides. So, the digital divide is not just access. So, there are three distinct digital divides. When we say digital divide, most people think of one thing. Does a student have a device and an internet? That is important. But the US National Educational Technology Plan identifies three distinct digital divides, and the Philippines context reflects all three. First, access divide. Device and internet availability. Millions of students without sufficient home broadband. Second, the use divide. Access does not equal meaningful use. A student may have a device, right? He may have a smartphone. He may have a tablet, but use it only for social media, for TikTok, for Facebook. So what we're trying to say here is there should be an equitable and purposeful use of technology for learning, and it is a separate skill that must be taught. And third, design divide. This is the newest and most critical gap. About this is all about teacher preparedness. A teacher who does not know how to design technology-enhanced learning experiences cannot lead a borderless classroom, no matter how good the hardware is. Okay, no matter how complete the LMS is, if the teacher cannot design okay, technology-enhanced learning experience, then all of this will go to waste. The good news here in the Philippines, CHED has directly addressed these divides through flexible learning modalities. So when I check school calendars of institutions in Region 1, some of them are already applying flexible learning modalities, and some of them already have their LMS. We also have the Odell frameworks and the international partnerships with Education USA. So we have a foundation. Now we must build on it. So to continue, here is the strategic framework for HEIs. So the question now is, how do institutions actually make this transition? The framework I recommend rests on 5 pillars, A through E. So pillar A is visioning, B is infrastructure, C is capacity building, D is innovation, and E is partnerships. So let's have the first one. Visioning, that is aligning your institutional mission with global SDG 4 and define what borderless means in your specific context and do it deliberately, collectively. For pillar B, infrastructure, invest in scalable, sustainable digital ecosystems, prioritize connectivity and cloud platforms. You must think long term, not just what works today, but what can grow with your institution. For pillar C, capacity building, for us to address the divide that we have mentioned a while back, continuous professional development for faculty and staff on digital pedagogy and tools. Not a one-time semester, continuous supported practical training. Teachers cannot teach what they have not been taught. Fourth, curriculum innovation. Design flexible interdisciplinary, globally relevant programs. Embrace competency-based designs. Move away from the idea that every student must learn the same thing in the same way at the same time. One of the best practices for this one is integrating massive open online course in your syllabi. So you have a free LMS given by Open, okay, that is Online Professional English Network, okay, that's free, or even Canvas, okay, or even Coursera, okay, Future Bright. So you could have those LMS and then integrate it in your classroom or in your syllabi or syllabus. These are free. And then you include the physical environment. So the materials coming from this Ivy League school, okay, becomes the content of your respective courses. Okay. And then pillar E, partnerships. Build industry, government, and international networks. Co-create with the world. Open your doors, even the digital ones. So these 5 pillars are not a checklist. So they could serve as a living strategy that must evolve as the landscape changes. Let's have some cases, okay, that leads the way. So we could say that theory is powerful, but here we have some of the best practices. The first one is from Arizona State University, wherein they're ranked the #1 most innovative university in America for 11 consecutive years. And here is what drives that ranking. ASU's ASUS or ASU entire charter is built on inclusion and access. Actually, I have an account with them, okay, not prestige. Over 80,000 of their degree programs are now available online with adaptive AI learning tools embedded campus-wide. Another is the University of Michigan and Morehouse College. They partner with Meta to build a metaversity, a digital twin campus in virtual reality. So students take XR enhanced courses on Coursera. Nursing students practice clinical simulations in VR before they ever touch a real patient. And closer to home, Philippine HEIs under CHED through CMO4 Series 2020, CHED mandated flexible delivery modes for all higher education institutions. So this was the guidelines used during the pandemic. The CHED Education USA partnership trained faculty nationally. The Odell frameworks now govern online blended delivery across state universities and colleges. We are already on this path. The question is how much farther we are willing to go. Okay. So in the Philippine context, how Philippine HEIs are navigating the transition, let me walk you through our journey as a nation. In 2020, as mentioned a while back, we have the CMO4 series of 2020, the guidelines on the implementation of flexible learning. This requires higher education institutions to adopt appropriate flexible learning modalities and submit learning continuity plans in the middle of a global pandemic. These learning continuity plans are still being submitted by the HEIs, okay, up to this time, because we still encourage the use of the virtual or fixed flexible learning modalities. So it was disruptive, it was difficult, but it started a transformation that cannot be undone as HEIs redesigned teaching and learning to keep classes going despite the crisis. In early 2021, CHED partnered with Education USA to launch e-learning essentials, responding and reimagining education in the Philippines, described by the U.S. Embassy as the country's first international collaboration focused specifically on flexible learning, with phase one kicking off through a virtual foundation conference of CHED and SUK representatives nationwide. From 2020 onward, building on CHED's work on open and distance e-learning, and with support from the University of the Philippines, Open University, and designated centers of excellence, many HEIs rolled out intensive faculty training on online pedagogy, Odell-aligned course design, and digital tools. This included long-form programs like Cebu Normal University's 100-hour Odell training and focus workshops on provincial state universities, together with regional and virtual webinars that help faculty and staff shift to flexible and online learning. So in practice, this became capacity building at a national scale, even if the exact programs differed across regions and institutions. From 2024 onward, including the period we are now, CHED regional offices continue to organize capacity building activities to support flexible and future learning pathways. So such as regional trainings and webinars on flexible learning systems, online delivery. At the same time, initiatives like CHEDx 2.0 bring CHEDs, HEIs, and the IT BPM industry together under the banner of building synergy, aligning IT education with industry. With the global of bridging academic industry gaps, rethinking IT curricula, and ensuring graduates develop skills that match a rapidly changing global market. Taken together, these efforts are steadily moving Philippine HEIs toward Education 4.0 and skills aligned with the fourth industrial revolution. Future-ready, technology-driven, and closer responsive to industry needs. We have come a long way, and we are not yet finished. So the future of borderless campus, emerging technologies redefining education. So what does the next 5 to 10 years look like? So let's look ahead. AI tutors and co-pilots. We have immersive learning through AR, AVR, and metaverse. Global credential ecosystem. So for the AI tutors and co-pilots, imagine generative AI as a 24/7 academic companion for every student, not replacing the teacher, but available at midnight when a student is preparing for for example. Real-time feedback, content scaffolding, intelligence systems that match challenges to Bloom's taxonomy. Early alert system that identify at-risk learners before they drop out. Second one, We have the immersive learning. Digital twin campuses are already being built at Morehouse, Harvard, and University of Iowa. So the metaversity concept means students from 20 countries can stand in the same virtual space and learn together. For global ecosystems, blockchain, authenticated micro-credentials that are stackable, portable, and employer recognized. So open badges and verifiable digital certificates, changing what a qualification means. So, and opening doors for learners who could never access traditional degree pathways. The future, okay, the future is not coming. It is already being built. The question is whether we will be builders or bystanders. So you choose. So the question or the next concept now would be, okay, we have this knowledge, and how do we build that ecosystem? There would be a fundamental shift. So this slide show you the single most important shift that all of this represents for us as educators and institutions. It is a shift in identity. We are moving from content delivery, where the teacher transfer information, to co-creation and facilitation of discovery, where the teacher designs environments where learners discover truth together. From fixed curricula, where every student follows the same path, to flexible, modular, competency-based pathways. From campus-bound institutions defined by their buildings to network global learning communities defined by the connection they build. And from being mere credentialing authorities to becoming ecosystem orchestrators, bringing together the industry, the government, the international partners to co-create education that is relevant, responsive, and real. This is not just a change in method, it is a change in mindset. And it starts with each of us deciding who we want to be. So kindly put in the chat box, do you want to be a bystander or a builder? So let's see. What's the preference of our participants? Are they still here? Okay.
Yes, they are, Doc. So I just want to
Yeah.
assist you in reading the comments on the chat box. Most of them, oh, I'm the number one pala. I'm the first. A builder for sure. Builders,
Yeah.
of course. Builder. None so far has put a bystander. Well, obviously.
Okay, so at this time, but maybe after this presentation, he could decide whether to be a bystander or a builder. So I like
Okay.
that, okay, because he is trying to weigh things, okay. So let me convince you more. Thank you so much, Sir Mark. Okay, so that's it. So the next question now is, how do we design spaces that sustain human connection? So as a speaker from the Philippines, I have been asked to address a theme that I believe is the core of everything we have discussed today. The essential question, how do we design spaces, both physical and digital, that sustain human connection in an increasingly virtual world? We have talked about technology, platforms, AI, smart classrooms, blockchain credentials. But here is what keeps me awake at night as an educator. I may not be at the forefront because I'm not in the classroom anymore. Okay. But I have my own classroom with fellow educators, okay, where I get to teach and co teach. So as we move everything online, And as we make everything digital, are we losing something irreplaceable? So, what are we losing? Are we losing that sense of belonging? Okay? Belonging, the feeling that you matter. For a human being, that is very important, right? That is self actualization, that you are seen, that you are part of something larger than yourself. If these are your questions, then these are also the questions that are in the minds of your students. Okay? So, this is not a soft secondary concern in education. It is foundational. Research tells us that students who feel they belong in their school learn more, stay longer, and achieve more. Have you felt that when you were in college, Sir Mark? Or when you were studying?
Yeah, absolutely.
You felt belong. Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. We need to have that. We need to feel that we belong. Okay? So the question I bring to this forum is not just how do we build better platforms. The question is how do we build platforms and spaces that make people feel like they are home? Okay? So that's the question. So as stated in the slide, as we harmonize technology and human-centeredness, the where of learning becomes as important as the how. So this theme explores the fusion of physical architecture and digital, what's that? Digital third spaces to create environments that foster community and creativity. So what do? We break the factory model. So practical answers, hybrid digital classrooms, VR, AR, or immersive cultural exchange. And the last one is movement, nature, and well-being. We know our students now are very much into mental health, right? So the third one address that. But before we go to that, let's have the first. Hybrid digital classrooms. Digital, combination of physical and digital. Describes classrooms that serve both in-person and remote students equally well simultaneously. The key word is equally. Not one experience that is great and one that feels like watching a live stream from a parking lot. Both experiences must be rich, interactive, and human. The second, VR and AR for immersive cultural exchange. So I have given some examples a while back. So students in, for example, in Pangasinan, putting on a VR headset and finding themselves collaborating with peers in US or in Canada or in Kenya on shared project. So here, empathy, curiosity, and global understanding built not through a textbook, but through lived virtual experience. And last but not the least, okay, movement, nature, and well-being. Physical school spaces that incorporate natural light, greenery, and opportunities for movement are spaces that restore rather than deplete. Our students are not machines. They need environments that honor their humanity. So when space is redesigned with belonging in mind, learners feel seen, connected, and empowered to take risks together. I'm reminded of Krashen, the affective filter. Okay. So if we have this kind of environment and our students' anxiety level are low, then there will be learning. So what we must do now, we are nearing the end of our time together. And I want to be direct with you. The borderless campus requires collective will, not just technology. It requires action from each of us in the role we hold. So if you are an educator, embrace innovation and commit to continuous learning. If your institution provide all of this professional learning developments activities, but you are not willing, then it would be put into waste. So we are not just talking about your student, we are talking about you yourselves. Become a learning architect, not just a content teacher. Build cross-cultural professional networks. Develop your AI literacy. You do not need to be an engineer, but you need to know how to co-pilot the future with these tools. For our institutional leaders, invest in inclusive, resilient digital infrastructure and treat it as seriously as you treat your buildings. Develop faculty capacity as a strategic priority, not an afterthought. Design flexible, competency-based curricula. Create partnerships beyond your borders. And for our policymakers who are present this morning, may you create enabling, adaptive regulatory frameworks, bridge the digital divide through targeted investment, recognize and validate micro-credentials nationally, and aligned national education policy firmly with SDG 4. These are not abstract goals. They are the decisions that leaders in this room can make and begin implementing before this forum is over. End to end, in a borderless campus, education is no longer confined. It is connected, inclusive, and infinite. We have covered a great deal of ground today. So we have talked about the forces reshaping our world, the technologies redefining our classrooms, the challenges demanding our courage, and the strategies guiding our action. But I want to leave you with something simple. Think of a student for a far-flung area, okay? That the one that I've described in the first part of my talk. The young woman whose campus become the world. She is not a symbol, she is real. She exists in every country represented in this room. She is waiting for us to build the systems that give her a chance. The borderless campus is not a threat to the idea of school. It is actually the fulfillment of its highest promise. That is, every human being, regardless of where they were born, how much money their family has, or how far they live from a university, deserves access to a world-class education. The question is not whether the borderless campus is coming. It is already here. The question is, okay, are we ready to lead it? Thank you. I am Dr. Michelin Villarivo from the Philippines. It has been my honor.
The pleasure and the honor is absolutely ours, Dr. Vigilia Arrivo. Thank you very much for that enlightening discussion on the future of learning environments. So one thought resonated with me from your discussion. It's very short and yet very impactful. The world is our campus. The world is my campus. And I couldn't agree more. So we will now proceed to the open forum. Participants may share their questions through the chat box or the the virtual raise hand button. Let me look at some questions for you to answer, Doc. Okay, so due to the interest of time, I'll just be selecting a few. Perhaps three or four questions would suffice. Okay. The first question. In Philippine public schools, where teachers already handle large class sizes and multiple administrative tasks, how can they realistically transition into virtual learning facilitators and co-creators without compromising instructional quality and their well-being?
Yes, that is a nice question, actually. Actually,
Mhm.
that question did not only arise today, but that
Mhm.
is the same question that we have during the pandemic.
Ooh, yeah.
Yes, during the pandemic, because our teachers were tasked to continue education, right? They should
Correct.
not stop. But then most of them don't know what edtech is.
Mm,
Okay. They have an idea of what Zoom,
mm,
what is Microsoft Teams, but being an engineer to create learning, okay, in a different platform,
mm,
okay, not the one that they're used to.
mm,
It's just like uh it's like a very big wall for them, and
mm.
or let's say a globe to carry, right? It's so
Right.
heavy. But
Mhm,
then one of the things that we have done before, I was still with DepEd at that time.
mhm,
So what we did, we tried to encourage the teachers
mhm.
to join us in our capacity building,
Okay.
because we cannot wait for another day for them to be capacitated.
Mm,
So we created webinars. I
mm,
tried to get or to create a pool of trainee or trainers
mm,
from DepEd. I got pool of trainers from DepEd, those who are already familiar with EdTech.
mm,
And with that, we had our webinar series for, I think we have 10 runs, creating LMS, using what else? Creating Moodle, Google Classroom. So all of this. And some of the teachers saying that they don't have time for it. But then, okay, actually that is one of the risks, because it all starts with the willingness of the teacher. If the teacher, I know all of our teachers have their passion for teaching, but sometimes there is that because of one digital divide, okay? Because of that, they are not that enthusiastic to work on it. So our role then was to encourage them. And we were successful, because I could say, even with the number that we had during the webinars, our teachers devoted their time. So in this what do you call this? In this call, in this particular need, okay, we must make sure that everyone understood their role.
yeah.
And with that, they become more responsible. Because if you're just going to say to them, okay, use this, okay, you have your class using Zoom,
Mm,
and they don't understand how to use it, so it would be difficult. And for those who are having problem with connectivity, and
mm,
those who are saying they don't have time, we have used the learning action cell, LAC session in
that's
DepEd
it.
before,
Yeah. Mhm,
LAC session. And we also have mentoring, okay, wherein mentoring to the extent that we do shadowing.
mm,
One teacher creates the digital material and then assists the other teacher. So the question now is not much of the burden, because they have so much thing to do. But if you will see the beauty of using the current technology that we have, the available technologies that we have, actually it will not burden you, because it will make your work, or it will facilitate the the performance of your work in an efficient and effective manner.
mm.
So I think it's just we need to change that mindset,
Mindset. Yeah,
right?
correct.
Yes, we need to keep on retooling ourselves, because the world is moving, so we need to
Correct.
move with it. Yeah.
Correct. And as teachers, that's one of the qualities that we must possess, right? We
Yeah.
have to be adaptable to changes, and AI is not gonna go away. And then
Yeah.
with especially with the things that are going on right now in the world, all the economic and political things, we might go back to the how things were during the pandemic. So
Yes. Mhm.
we have to continuously be willing to adapt. Yeah.
But you know what? One thing that saddened me after
Mm,
the pandemic, um, I'm not sad because the pandemic is over, but what happened after it is that
mhm,
during the pandemic we have started already with the flexible learning.
mhm.
But after that, majority returned to the
So,
physical
yeah, full face to face.
physical, yes, full face to face. So I think if we will look into it
Mhm,
and yes, become more serious in addressing this matter. Actually, with this coming school year, it would be rainy season, then we could take
mhm,
advantage of what we had actually during the pandemic. But
mhm.
sad to say, some of our educators returned to what they have used to be
Yeah,
in.
well,
Yeah.
okay. Now, another question is how can teachers balance the use of AI tools with traditional teaching methods to ensure students will still develop critical human skills?
Okay, that is a very good question.
Mm,
So the the idea of the use ethical use of AI comes into the picture, right? So, for example, my child, my child is already using AI. She is grade 10, and every time that she looks into when I see her using AI, I always tell her do not depend on AI.
mm,
And then she tells me, I already have my concept. I
mm.
already have my documents. I already have my assignments. I'm just trying to ask AI the loopholes. That's what she's saying. Loopholes and how could I improve it? So in the regular class, most probably we could also do that. Okay. The thing is, we need to first help our students understand that AI is already here and that we need to make sure that they use it ethically and responsibly.
Correct. I
Now,
agree.
when we use it in the classroom, I think we need to model. The
Mm,
teacher should model how to use it so that we will do away with the notion coming from the students or arising from the students' consciousness that it's just okay for me to give the prompt and then submit right away what
copy
the
and paste everything and so
yes, copy and paste everything. But if the teacher, okay, if the teacher tries to model how to do it first and then give the guidelines on the proper use, as well
correct.
as, let's say, in the rubrics included how far they could use the AI, then I think that would be the best.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally agree with you. That's very insightful because again, AI is not going away.
Yes.
Yeah, and the students now are 21st century learners. I mean,
Yes. They are.
AI is there to support them and help them with schoolwork. Mm.
Yeah. Looking at my child, my God. She is into the next level in using AI. Yeah,
Well,
not
she
in the
learned from the
sense that
best
she's
for
copying
sure.
everything, but copying what AI gives her. But she she asked AI to be her editor, to be her
Oh,
critic. Yeah,
yeah,
she
at
is grade
least the,
10.
the the material comes from her. I mean,
Yes,
that's
it
I think
comes from
important.
her. Yeah,
Okay,
that's
another interesting question here, doctor, is that Professor, do you believe, or doctor, do you believe that a borderless campus is truly accessible to all, or does it widen the gap between privileged and disadvantaged students?
okay, so there are several levels on this.
Mhm.
Okay, a while back I discussed the different types of digital divides, right? So the first one, that's the common that we see or we say, and then the second, and then the last one is the re-engineering. Okay, the role of the teacher to become an engineer of learning. So the question you said is, does it widen the gap between privileged and disadvantaged? Actually, it is not only about a question of infrastructure. It is more on policy because as mentioned in the presentation that I gave you a while back, even though we have the infrastructure, if we don't have the policy to work on it and to ensure that everyone has an access but of course not 100%, right?
Of
Because
course.
we know the realities.
Yeah.
At least somehow increase the number of access for our students. Then I think if all of this, the teacher, the institution, and the policymakers will work, I think we will be able to increase the number of students who will be not only enjoying, but who will be benefited,
Mhm.
okay, from this. Because for the gap has been there ever
Mhm.
since, okay, considering how our resources are being handled. Okay, alam
And
niyo naman yan.
allocated. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes,
Mhm.
are being handled. But if, okay, if the educators, okay, who will lead the way are there and are very passionate and very intentional. I'm trying to exaggerate, okay? I'm using very intentional with their action. Even in their classroom, they could make a change and they could address the gap that has been asked in the question.
Mm.
Okay? So as an educator, I would really love in this time, I would really love to go back to the classroom because I know I have a lot to offer my students. But then looking at it, there would be a recipient of 450 students, right?
Yeah.
But
Mm.
using my role now, my voice, somehow that number could multiply
Yeah.
if I could inspire, let's say, even a half of the teachers who are here to become that agent of change and for them to be able to address the gaps,
Mm.
okay, that they see in their classroom.
Yeah. Very well said.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I agree with you 100%. So
Yeah.
I will ask you this final question, Doc.
Mm-hmm.
In response to rising fuel costs driven by geopolitical tensions, the Department of Education has proposed a 4+1 model, 4 days on-site and 1 day online. What preparations are necessary to ensure its effectiveness and smooth implementation?
Okay, I'm not so familiar with the policies of DepEd right now, but I think they have their program ICAERE that is on online platforms as well as AI.
Mhm.
So most probably, actually, we have been there during the pandemic already, right? We have been there already. That is 5 days a week.
Correct.
Okay, wherein you get to meet the students using Zoom. I don't know if some have really met their students via Zoom and they have their Google Classroom. I think that's fine. Okay, that's okay to have 4 physical days and then for one virtual.
Mhm.
Okay, this idea is not that's not new anymore because we have the flexible classrooms, we have the
Mhm.
hybrid classrooms. Okay, and I know DepEd somehow prepared for this.
Mhm. Yeah.
So as educator, capacitate capacitate yourself in using this platform. So most probably, Doc J and the rest of UMak team, Sir Mark, that will be the next, right? Capacity building on the use of the ed tech.
Yes, we hope so. I
Yeah.
mean, it
And
would
I
be a
hope your
pleasure.
yes, your pre-service teachers are already
Mm.
equipped, okay, with this use of edtech so that they
Yeah.
become our partners, become engineers of learning when they get into the field.
In the near future.
Yes, in the near future.
Okay, well, thank you very much for that engaging exchange of ideas, Doc Rivo. And at this juncture, we shall be presenting the Certificate of Appreciation as a symbol of our sincere gratitude. So I will now be reading the citation, which will be flashed in a bit. It's almost lunchtime. Do you have
Yeah.
any idea yet as to what you're going to have for lunch? Is it going to be a heavy lunch for you, Doc?
For me,
Yes.
I'm waiting for my family.
Oh, wow, that's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, that's a well-deserved lunch with family.
Yes. So most probably we go to their favorite restaurant. Yeah.
Restaurant.
Nearby. Yes.
Okay, that's good. it's also important, work-life balance. We
Yeah.
spend time with our family aside from, working so hard
Yes.
during the weekdays. As
Mental
for
health.
you, yeah, mental health is so important as
Yes.
well.
It's a good thing in CHED. We have 4 days.
Mm.
We need to
Oh,
work for 4 days. That is 8 to 7. And then we're free on Friday.
oh, wow. Okay, so I'm sure you've made plans already for the Holy Week.
Yes. We will be
Mm.
at the church.
Oh, at the church. Okay, that's
Yes.
awesome. Yeah, observe the solemnity of the occasion. Oh,
Yes.
wow. All right, so we're still waiting.
Okay.
How do you feel right now? I mean, do you feel relieved that finally your talk is over? You
I'm happy.
excited? You're happy?
Yeah,
I
I'm
can see
hoping
that.
for more questions, but then, yeah, the time doesn't warrant it anymore. So, anyways, for those who would want to get in touch, most probably, and ask questions, you could just type my name on Facebook and I'm there.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think we could accommodate one more
Yeah, sure.
question, yeah. Just, to maximize the time that
Yeah,
we have.
yes.
Okay. Assuming that oil, a global commodity,
Mhm.
ceases to flow and internet connectivity is disrupted due to a large-scale conflict in Iran, the United States and Israel, what remains of education in such a constrained and disconnected world?
Is that my phone?
I think so, though.
Oh, no. I think
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to think about it actually.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
want to think about it. I'm more of an optimist and I'm praying that it will be over soon.
Mm.
Okay, it will be over soon. Yes, it will be over soon. But then in cases that this will happen, we have lots of books.
Oh, like physical
We have
book,
lots of books, physical books,
online books, physical books.
physical
Okay.
books, e-books, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and we could use that actually. During the pandemic, some says that there is a learning gap. But if
Mm-hmm.
we have just used the books in the library, we brought it out and give it to all of the students and have them read it during their free time, I think that
Okay.
would have been a nice way, right?
Right. I never
Better
thought
way.
about that. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Actually, that's one of my frustration because they say the students' reading capacity became
Mm,
lower and the learning gap is wider.
right.
I
And there's
I was
nothing wrong
hoping.
with going back to the traditional
Yes, the
method.
traditional.
While,
Just in
yeah.
case, okay, just in case that happens, then
Mhm.
we use all the available resources that we have.
Right.
For the online courses, for sure, you have your LMS,
That is
and
correct. Yeah.
before that happens, they will ask you to download all of the resources, all of the modules, so that you could review it, just like what we do in MOOC. For
Oh,
those who don't have connections, regular connections or internet connectivity, we
mhm,
ask them. For those who are from last mile schools, we
mhm.
ask them to download the modules, and
Oh,
then they just need to go online for the quizzes and
yeah.
for the discussion forums. But for the rest, they could do it actually online, via print. That's why it's digital.
Yeah,
Okay. Yes.
I'm familiar with that because I also did MOOC or MOOC. We call it MOOC.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, I think we're ready. So allow me to read the citation. Okay. Certificate of Appreciation is proudly presented to Dr. Michelin Rivo in grateful recognition of her invaluable insights and expertise as a guest speaker during the 2026 UMak-CITE International Summit on Education with the theme The Global Learning Renaissance, Harmonizing Technology, Equity, and Human-Centeredness. Given this 28th day of March 2026 at the University of Makati, Philippines. Signed, Jason Bergania, EDD, Dean, College of Innovative Teacher Education. Ederson D.T. Tapia, DPA, PhD, Vice President of Academic Affairs. And Elixir C. Ramos, Sese, PhD, President, University of Makati. Okay, so maybe request Dr. Revo to kindly stay on screen as we present this recognition. And Yay.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm so
You're
happy.
welcome po. You're welcome, and the
Thank you,
pleasure is
Doc
always
J.
mine. Okay, so now to further enrich our morning session, we will now be treated to a musical presentation from one of the premier performing groups of the University of Makati. Kindly remain with us as we present the UMak Chorale.
One day I'll hear the laugh of children where war has been banned. Sharing words of love and devotion. Stand up and feel the Holy Spirit. Find the power of your faith. Open your heart to those who need you. In the name of love and I believe in the people of nations to join in together for love. I believe in the world where light will guide us and giving our love will make heaven.
Thank you very much to the Yuma Chorale for that remarkable and impressive performance. I feel like I was taken to heaven while watching and listening to you. Good job. To help us reflect on the key insights from today's session, we will now hear the Day 2 synthesis. Allow me to introduce an esteemed faculty member of the University of Makati. Please welcome Professor Michael Robert Alviar.
Thank you, Sir Marky. Am I audible? Thank
Yeah.
you. Okay. So, good day. As we step back from the rich insights shared today, we are invited not just to recall what was said, but to ask a deeper question. What kind of educational future are we actually building? Across the presentations, a powerful and unifying theme emerges. Education is becoming borderless, personalized, and data driven, but its future depends on whether it remains human centered and ethically grounded. This synthesis unfolds across three interconnected tensions, not problems to solve, but balances we must continuously negotiate. Building on the vision of Dr. Rivo, we see a fundamental shift. Education is no longer defined by place, but by possibility. The campus is no longer a physical site, it is an ecosystem of platforms, people, and pathways that extends across borders, time zones, and disciplines. But this is not a story of replacement. As Dr. Rivo emphasizes, the borderless campus is an expansion, not an erasure. Traditional classrooms, blended modalities, and digital environments are not competing spaces. They are converging to what she calls a phygital ecosystem. Yet this transformation is not frictionless. The borderless campus demands an honest reckoning with real world barriers, from the persistent digital divide to the challenge of maintaining academic rigor and assessment integrity in virtual first environments, to critical faculty readiness gap, where educators recognize the importance of digital competencies more than they feel equipped to perform them. At the same time, we must confront a quieter but equally urgent reality that in fully online spaces, student engagement, motivation, and well being may decline, and the human need for social connection remains insufficiently met. So while education is becoming borderless, we must ask, can learning truly expand if equity, quality, and human connection do not keep pace? This brings us to a second deeply connected theme illuminated by Dr. Fukushima, the rise of personalized learning. At its best, personalization represents one of the most promising advances in education. Learning becomes adaptive, responsive, centered on the individual. Students are no longer passive recipients, they become active participants in their own learning journeys. But here lies the critical insight. Personalization is powerful, but it is fundamentally data dependent. To adapt learning, systems must continuously collect, analyze, and interpret data, not just academic performance, but behaviors, engagement patterns, even sensitive information. And this is where the promise of innovation meets the reality of ethical responsibility. Because as personalization deepens, so does intrusion. Dr. Fukushima challenges us to rethink a common assumption. Privacy is not an obstacle to innovation. It is the condition that makes innovation sustainable. The goal then is not maximum data, but appropriate data. Not extraction, but responsible use, not surveillance, but trust. When we place these two perspectives together, the borderless campus and data driven personalization, a central tension becomes unmistakable. The drive to optimize learning versus the responsibility to protect the learner. And in many ways, these tensions are already anticipated in the challenge given to us this morning by Dr. Tapia. He reminded us of something both simple and profound, that as we innovate, we must remain human and we must learn to govern what we create. This is not merely a philosophical reflection, it is a practical imperative. Because without ethical governance, the very systems designed to expand access, ensure quality, and personalize learning can unintentionally deepen inequality, weaken trust, or reduce learners to data points. And this is where another critical shift emerges from data ownership by institutions to data agency for students, from systems that optimize performance to systems that uphold dignity. This transformation does not stop at systems, it reshapes people. In the borderless data driven landscape, educators are not longer mere conduct deliverers or content deliverers. They become learning architects, designers of experiences, facilitators of inquiry. But to do so, they must also be supported through continuous development, institutional alignment, and systems that do not outspace their capacity to adapt. Students in turn become self directed learners, navigating flexible and personalized pathways, but still in need of connection, guidance, and care. And perhaps the most important shift is this: trust becomes the new infrastructure of education, not buildings, not platforms, but trust. And trust is shared responsibility, co created by educators, technologists, policymakers, and institutions. So, what then does this mean for us? For educators, it means designing learning that is not only innovative, but engaging, inclusive, and ethically intentional. For institutions, it means ensuring the expansion is matched with quality assurance, faculty support, and equitable access. For policymaker, it means building frameworks that protect learners while enabling responsible innovation. And for researchers, it opens urgent questions. How do we sustain engagement in borderless environments? How do we operationalize ethical data governance? How do we ensure quality and equity at scale? As we bring this synthesis to a close, we return to the central insight that binds all perspectives together. The future of education is not defined by how advanced our technologies become, but by how wisely, ethically, and humanely we choose to use them. Because ultimately, the ethical use of data does not merely protect students, it empowers them. It transforms data from a tool of surveillance into a foundation trust, agency, and meaningful learning. And perhaps that is the real challenge before us, not simply to build smarter systems, but to build wiser educational futures. Thank you for joining us, and mabuhay.
Thank you very much, Professor Alviar, for that very comprehensive synthesis of today's discussions. As we approach the conclusion of the 2026 UMak-CITE International Summit on Education, it is fitting that we hear a final message that will help us reflect on the insights, ideas, and meaningful discussions shared throughout this two-day gathering. To deliver the closing remarks, it is my privilege to introduce the Dean of the College of Innovative Teacher Education, a dedicated academic leader who continues to champion innovation and excellence in teacher education. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Jason Bergania.
Distinguished guests, esteemed speakers from across the globe, dedicated educators and fellow visionaries, as we bring the CITE International Education Summit 2026 to a close, we find ourselves at a significant vantage point. Over the past 2 days, we have explored the global learning renaissance, a journey that took us to the intersection of rapid technological revolution and the timeless needs of the human spirit. So as you return to your respective classrooms, institutions, and policy tables, I urge you to carry these 6 essential truths that we have all learned from this 2-day session. First, agency over automation. We must remember that while AI redefines the boundaries of capability, it should never replace the agency of the learner. Our role is to ensure that machine intelligence always serves to elevate, not erase the human skills. Second, inclusion by design. Let us dismantle the one-size-fits-all models of the past. True equity is found when we shift the burden of lifting in from the student to the system or making the students fit into the system, embracing neurodiversity and multiple intelligences through universal design for learning. Third is lifelong resilience. In an age of information overload, the most vital skill we can gift our students is the ability to learn how to learn. We are preparing them not just for the jobs, but for a 60-year curriculum of constant growth, which is lifelong learning. Fourth, holistic success. We must continue to challenge the metric-driven definitions of success. Our goal is to measure what matters most: well-being, sustainability, and the character required to be a responsible global citizen. Fifth, architectures of belonging. Whether in a physical classroom or a digital third space, we must intentionally design environments that prioritize human connection and mental well-being over isolation. And the sixth, the ethics of trust. As we personalize learning through data, we must remain the first or the fierce guardians of student privacy, ensuring technology supports people rather than simply tracking them. So I invite each of you to act as catalyst for this renaissance or rebirth. Use these learnings to bridge the gap between digital advancement and human-centeredness. Whether you are mentoring a student, designing a curriculum, or drafting a policy, let your decisions be guided by empathy and the pursuit of holistic flourishing. This summit would not have been possible without the collective efforts of our community. Our deepest gratitude to our visionary speakers, Dr. Nurzith Sofia Nordin from Malaysia, Dr. Francis Magtoto from the University of the Philippines, Diliman, Dr. Watsatri Dition from Thailand, Dr. Pratima Majal from Singapore, Assistant Professor Takashi Fukushima from Japan, and Dr. Micheline Rivo from the Chad Region 1. Your insights have provided the roadmap for our future. We also extend our sincere thanks to Dr. Jenny V. Hoxson of the Teacher Education Council, Dr. Elixir Ramos, our President, and Dr. Ederson Tapia, our Vice President for Academic Affairs, for their leadership and inspiration. And finally, thank you to the University of Makati, the College of Innovative Teacher Education, happy 40th anniversary, and every organizer, performer, and participant who contributed their energy to this event. We leave here not just with notebooks full of ideas and notes, but with a renewed mandate. Let us go forth to synchronize innovation with empathy. Let us build a future where every student is seen, supported, and empowered to thrive in a world that is as technologically advanced as it is deeply human. The Renaissance has begun. Let us lead it together. Thank you very much and enjoy the rest of your day.
Okay, the Renaissance has begun. Thank you very much, Dr. Bergania, for those inspiring and meaningful closing remarks, and for sharing with us 6 important lessons, which are agency over automation, inclusion by design, lifelong resilience, holistic success, architecture of belonging, and the ethics of trust. Thank you very much once again, Dean Bergania. And now, before we officially conclude our summit, we have a few announcements. We will now have a virtual photo opportunity. May we request all participants, especially the Zoom participants, to kindly turn on your cameras. Also, stay on the main screen and flash your biggest smile as our team captures the screenshot for today's event. Okay. The trick is smile all throughout, like this. Okay, frame 1, 2, and 3. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. So this concludes day 2 and the final day of the 2026 University of Makati College of Innovative Teacher Education International Summit on Education. Please don't forget to accomplish the attendance and evaluation form. Participants with incomplete submission of the attendance and evaluation forms for any day will not be issued a certificate and will not be credited with CPD points. Please refer to the QR code flashed on the screen for the evaluation of today's session. On behalf of the organizing committee, we sincerely thank all of our speakers, participants, and guests from different parts of the world. Thank you very much to the University of Makati College of Innovative Teacher Education for organizing and for making this possible, for working to have this conference credited with 6 CPD units. May the knowledge and insights shared during this summit continue to inspire innovation, collaboration, and human-centered education. Once again, thank you very much. Good afternoon, stay safe, and see you in future academic gatherings.
Kundi pag-asang magbabago sa bawat paaralan at komunidad pa. Sa bawat aral na aming pinaninindigan, may layuning maglingkod sa sambayanan. With passion to teach and hearts that care, future educators, handa na kami. We did it! CITE, where innovation meets excellence. We lead, we learn, we rise with confidence. I learn ang gabay sa bawat hakbang. Liderato, talino, at pusong may danggal. Proud kaming maging guro para sa bayan, para sa kabataan, para sa mundo. UMak-CITE, kami ang magtuturo. Sa bawat klase may pag-asa, may liwanag na buo. CITE, kami ang magtuturo. Sa bawat klase may pag-asa, may liwanag na buo. Inanay sa ideya at paraan, leadership na may tapang at paninindigan. Excellence sa gawa, hindi lang sa salita. Altruism sa puso, pagmamahal sa kapwa. Resilience sa hamon, di basta sumusuko. Nationalism ang sigaw para sa Pilipino. Sa bawat hakbang, sa bawat pangarap, I learn ang lakas, CITE ang landas. Hindi lang diploma ang aming hangad, kundi misyon na may sasay at malasakit. Sa silid-aralan at sa tunay na buhay, kami ang guro, kami ang ilaw ng bukas at gabay. CITE, where innovation meets excellence. We lead, we learn, we rise with confidence. I learn ang gabay sa bawat hakbang. Liderato, talino at pusong may dangal. Proud kaming maging guro para sa bayan, para sa kabataan, para sa mundo. UMak-CITE, kami ang magtuturo. Sa bawat klase may pag-asa, may liwanag na buo. Hands up! Sabay-sabay, future teachers, this is our day. Learn, lead, serve with pride. UMak-CITE, we stand side by side. CITE, where innovation meets excellence. We lead, we learn, we rise with confidence. I learn ang gabay sa bawat hakbang. Liderato, talino at pusong may dangal. Proud kaming maging guro para sa bayan, para sa kabataan, para sa mundo. UMak-CITE, kami ang magtuturo. Sa bawat klase may pag-asa, may liwanag na buo. Sa bawat umagang may bagong pangarap. Sa UMak-CITE kami humahakbang. Mga isip na handang matuto't magturo. Sa hinaharap ng bayan, kami bahagi nito. Dito hinuhubog ang guro ng bukas. May pusong may talino, may